Hello and welcome. We are back, another Ableton Live sound design hangout. And today, I sort of just get these ideas of what to do next. And they only come to me when I do the previous thing that I needed to do. So like last SDHO, that was like the thing I just felt excited to do. So it was almost like when I decided to make that SDHO, I kind of just knew what to do. And so today I want to play two things I want to do. The first thing is I want to play with operator. So I'm going to drag an operator on the first MIDI track, record enable. And then for the next thing, tension. And we can just close this down, I guess. I don't know, it looks better when it's opened up. So I wanted to work with operator first because using the LFO, the free running LFO tool that you can found over here, I wanted to use this with operator, and I've been doing less operator, which used to kind of be like the bread and butter synthesizer that us OG Ableton users have been using for a lot for the last like 10, 15 years. I haven't gone back as far as 15 years, but meaning like, you know, there's a period of time where it was really just like operator, analog, and sampler. So in any event, something I wanted to focus on first with operator, and then I'm going to move to the LFOs, create some like nice evolving sound textures, is I guess this is like an issue with operator, an issue that I have that I just don't think is correct. I don't know if anyone else kind of figured this out, and then I'm going to show you how you basically just bypass it and remedy it, and why you would rather use the LFO anyway. So we're going to stick for the time being on this algorithm. So we're jumping into the FM realms right now, which is basically what operator is designed for. And so if we play a note, we just got sine wave. Okay. Now, what this says here is that B will modulate A. So as soon as we turn up B, we're going to be modulating the waveform of A, and that's how we get that FM sound. And using FM is central to operator. Now, you can do subtractive synthesis in operator, which is cool, which is like part of its allure that you can do that too. And then you can also go over here into this oscillator section, and you can do what's called additive synthesis and like do those things. But we're not doing that. But for the most part, you're doing FM. So let's play a note. Actually, let's just make it bassier. Let's turn up B, and now we're going to get A is going to be getting modulated, and you're going to hear FM. So how FM differed from subtractive synthesis, and when you think subtractive synthesis, think filter, like you're having a waveform, like a saw, a square, and you're using a filter to subtract or add, depending on what filter and which way you use it, frequencies, which makes it brighter or duller over time, which gives us different evolving sounds, gives us bass sounds, gives us like percussive sounds, what have you. But FM synthesis basically says you control the harmonics, so the brightness or the darkerness. I don't want to say dull because I don't want to make it seem like a filter frequency, filtering things out is dull, but I think you know what I mean. I think you're following along. So FM says over time, based on how you manipulate these envelopes, you will be adding harmonic content, adding brightness, darkness to the sound, or just modulating slightly between the two. Like, listen. Right? So if you wanted to modulate that, you really didn't have a way. Now you'll say, dude, go into LFO, check LFO, Right now it's deactivated. Put it on B because we want a little bit of modulation to B. We want a slow rate. Okay, we probably want a good amount. Now listen to what happens. Now what this should be doing is because we have B checked, that means it's going to provide this LFO with this rate and this amount. And just don't even pay attention to this LFO. It's not doing anything over here. It's here for a reason. So what this should be doing is right now, I have that sound, okay? And it's actually already modulating it. I'm going to turn it off. So listen. Now, it should give us a little bit of movement like this. Now, this level isn't going to move, okay? This level is not going to move because this is doing it under the hood. But listen to what happens when I add it to B. You're going to think, because that's what an LFO does, it's going to do this. But listen to how it's not doing that. And it's basically like modulating the overall pitch, which it shouldn't be doing. Check it out. Yeah, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Because take a look here. Utilities, spectrum. Let's turn off LFO, and let's go back into here. And I'm actually going to, this is our waveform, okay? This is our beautiful waveform, okay? If you play right here, we're playing a D. And these are the harmonics. Now, when I remove this, it's just the sine wave. Now, there's just sine waves. You basically stick to sine waves with FM because like they give you all of the harmonics you would need. Now look what happens. Look what happens when I start adding the FM. Now what I want to do is I want to modulate it. I want that FM amount to change like I would do with the filter. So naturally, you would come over here and you would want to apply to B, right? You can check all of these, but just to keep it simple, I'm even going to turn off filter because we're not using that. Just B. Now, what B should do, adding a very slow rate, adding a slowish amount, it should do this. Hold on, it's already. Turn it off. Now, keep in mind, when I'm moving this, you're getting this D note, and then its harmonics will change, just as it would. Look. That's what this should do, but it doesn't. Watch. See this? It's changing pitch. It's not doing what it's supposed to. Like, look at that. If we turn it up, it's like... So yeah, for some reason, it doesn't, the LFOs are not behaving how they should. The LFO, when you're applying an LFO, so this is the LFO in operator, when you apply the LFO and you select your destination, which is B, because I only want this to happen to B, it should be just modulating this level, and it's not. It's modulating like the pitch, almost like the composite pitch of both of them. So if I were to go into LFO, and I'm just going to turn off B, turn off C, D. By the way, if these levels aren't up, nothing's happening anyway, but I'm just turning this off to show you. So if we go to filter, or LFO, and we just put on A, actually I'm going to turn off A for a second, okay? It should just modulate this. Let's see what it does. See, look, it's modulating the pitch. That's not what we want. So that's what's weird. It's almost like this LFO section is pretty much crap unless you just put it on filter. And then, you know, you say, okay, let's go back into LFO, turn it off B. Now, if we put this LFO and we map it to B, then it does what it's supposed to do. Because like right now in FM, which is what operator's for, the effects of these levels aren't really giving you a tone per se, but they're modulating the base waveform of A, at least according to this algorithm over here. So like if this LFO isn't doing what this is supposed to be doing, it's kind of like stupid. You know, because you want that subtle movement. And like for it to be modulating the pitches of each of those, like these aren't even actual audible sounds. So like it's almost like, I don't know why more people aren't talking about that. And because of that, I never really thought to use the operator with this LFO, but now that I'm like using LFO with everything and just realizing just how good it is, it's just like, now don't get me wrong, like I would still come over here, lower this filter, and then I would, see, it's modulating the filter. So that's doing it, right? It's modulating this. It's modulating the frequency, the level of this frequency, as it should modulate the level down here, but it doesn't. So I almost think it's worthless to use the LFO on any of the A, B, C, or D unless you want the slightest pitch drift. But yeah, why it doesn't do that, I don't know. I feel like operator needs to be updated, but I guess they've got more important things to do now. So anyways, I don't care about any of that. I'm going to modulate some C. So it sounds like it would be good in here. So I'm going to go into here and map it to C. So you got this nice little like pitch drift. I'm going to turn up the oscillator of A. And so that's what you're supposed to do, you know, like you're supposed to have these subtle modulations here to get this like very nice. I'm going to lower the depth a little bit. I'm even going to put this on. And the crazy thing is like, I guess the way that I'm just holding a major chord, and a major chord's so boring, but even a major chord sounds good. So let's make it a major 7. So one thing I'll do is something I've been doing more is just to drop like an auto filter on here and just take it's giving me an idea. By the way, you can go into spread right here and listen to how this will change. That's how much wider it got. So if you didn't know about spread, you can just do that anytime. So this is cool. Let's take it down an octave, see what that same sequence sounds like. It's too bassy. So you've got these subtle movements. So in this algorithm right here, C, which is a sine wave, is modulating B, which is a sine wave, which is distorting this sine wave of B, which is then distorting the sine wave of A, and you're hearing the effect of C on B and the effect of B on A, and you're getting that sound. And we could take it up to a square, but for the most part in FM, you like play with sines. So why did I go? So like if I were to play with operator, I would want subtle movements on B, subtle movements on C. And this LFO doesn't do it. This LFO can provide appropriately modulations for filter, but I would rather just see the feedback. So I pretty much have like no need to use this LFO panel until it actually gets properly updated. And then filter right here. In fact, let's give it some filter drive. Why not? Beef it up a little bit more. So like, yeah, I like the sound of this. And I haven't really like played operator, like doing it in the new form where I'd be like modulating. And I thought it'd be a good time to sort of talk about that because like, yeah, that's something I think about. Now, before I move on, I'm gonna take spread down. So apparently when you push spread up, so just to show you this before we move on to tension, and I'm going to drop a chorus on here, and then I'm going to see if a phaser sounds better, and then see if I can get any other sounds out of flanger, because for some reason I'm like, I feel like I can get some good sounds out of flanger, but I've been telling myself that like flanger is just like a crappy effect, and I'd rather just use phaser all the other time. So we'll see that quick before moving on to tension. So let's see. I'm going to close this down. So let's put spread at 0. Listen. So it's wider. You would think, why would you not want wider? Well, because the way this spread works, and this is how it works in like unison detuning in a lot of synthesizers, is it takes your output, it copies it, and then it takes that second copy and it like detunes it a little bit, and then it gives it this wide effect. But if you were to take that resultant sound and you were to like sum it to mono, the frequencies would phase cancel and it would sound like shit. But every time we're listening to music, we're listening to music like in our car. We're listening, so you're getting stereo sound. We're listening on any sort of headphones. You're getting stereo sound. You're listening on your laptop speakers. You got stereo sound, left and right channel. Even on any modern phone, there's like a left and a right channel. So it's really up to you. Like, when are people really listening to music on mono? And people are like, it's like the trendy thing to say in like audio production when you research mixing and mastering. Everyone's like, sum it to mono to see if you'll have any of those issues. And it's like, yeah, but like, who's ever getting their music played in mono? You know what I mean? It's almost like, like even nowadays, people will like mix music to sound good on the shittiest devices, like phones. You know what I mean? So like your bass has to have high frequency content or you won't hear it on phones. So I almost think it's kind of dead advice, but I feel like it's cool to talk about because it just gives you more knowledge and it gives you more things to play with. So if we just take the spread away, because maybe we're paranoid about that, I need more. I'm actually just going to delete this auto filter. I need more higher frequency content because I just decided that. I'm going to move this offset up. So what's another way you could give it some like width and movement by not doing the detune trick? Well, a big one, and literally not even just to make it wider, but just because it just sounds good, is when you got those sounds that got like a lot of high frequency content, which you like because it's bright, it comes through, it's like higher harmonics on top of the lower harmonics you have. Drop a chorus. It's like that same effect. This will just allow you to not chorus the lower frequencies. Drop the rate down. Without, with. It's wonderful. Now I'm going to go to phaser flanger. I told myself, because I know what chorus will do for my sounds now. And I kind of know what phaser will do. And I feel like because it does a similar thing, it's almost like it gives this like higher harmonic, mid to high harmonic, like pristine or wash or like sparkle kind of. Listen to this phaser. Without, with. Let's go flanger. Doesn't seem like it's doing much. It's really weird because when you use these things and you use them well, they're not really supposed to be these. Like if you took a sandwich and you just like took some kind of a mustard and you just slapped it all over the sandwich, like if you eat that sandwich, like you're really getting that mustard and it's really leaving an impact. But some would say it's better if you put the mustard on there, you eat the whole sandwich, and like the mustard just adds a thing, but you're not like, ooh, that's a lot of mustard. You know what I mean? It just like So in this case, chorus. Just better. I like chorus a lot. So this is cool. I wanted to do that before moving on to tension. So I'm just going to close this down, see if we got our tension here. And I'm going to go to MIDI, drop a pitch, so at any time I can knock it down an octave. And I haven't used tension in a long time. I don't really use tension much. And to be honest, I really don't use, up until recently, I really don't use collision very much. I feel like my voice is starting... It's like you're talking too much and you're talking too fast. Oh, hey, look down here. Remember angel numbers? 777. I mean, how like, you know what I mean? Like, for it to be 7. I mean, look at like this like last 7. You know what I mean? Like, just to like, I don't know, whatever. What does 777 mean? I think 777 angel number. I think it means like. And again, this you don't have to believe any of this, but we're just having fun. We have fun on this show. That's kind of like a common theme. You know what I mean? Because like, why do anything if like there's not an element of like fun or enjoyment in it? I don't know. I think 777 means like a spiritual harmony is happening or manifesting, like a greater spiritual awareness or an up-leveling of spiritual awareness, enlightenment is happening. Could be wrong. I'm trying to figure those all out because like you'll go on Instagram, you'll see a million of those angel numbers things, and like almost everyone's got a different meaning for 444, and this one's got a different one for 1111. Drop a like if you see 1111 a lot, or 777. I feel like you start off by saying 1111 and then it spreads to the other ones. So in any event, I'm gonna stop talking for a second. Man, talking's tough today. Maybe because it's so hot out. Like, it's so hot, but like also humid. It's like you walk outside and you're like, oh, I live in a volcano. You're like, my God. And I'm like, I'm in North Illinois and like the outskirts of Chicago. So, yeah, I'm sure you can tell by a lot of the Chicago shirts I wear. But yeah, boy, humidity, it really gets you. So you got this tension right here. And see how it sounds like really dry? Well, it's not as resonant, although there are resonant capabilities like this body down here. But you may want to throw a reverb just so it sounds more normal. That's why it can sound really lame when you use tension. And because I just want like an all-purpose go-to reverb, I'm going to use Ableton's default reverb, so not hybrid. Lower the dry wet all the way down and then gradually turn it up. Lower the decay time. To be honest with you, if you're tripping about reverb, honestly, man, all you really gotta, or lady, all you gotta worry about is decay time and dry wet. Yeah. Because I want that rather than, you know what I mean? Because tension can sound rather dry. So you've got plectrum, which is a pick. You've got hammer, which is basically like the hammer that would strike like some sort of keyed instrument, like a piano or an electric piano or harpsichord. I don't know if that's the right word. It's anything that like you play a key. When you play the key, it lifts up a hammer, it hits the string. If you didn't know, like that was what was going on under the hood of a piano. If you have a piano or there's a piano somewhere, you can look up, see it. Hammer bouncing is like the hammer hits. And then in like an exponential function, it like dies off. And I think it gets controlled with the... I'm holding it down. Oh, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't know that it did different things when you held it down. I actually might use hammer more because like there's a really cool one too called bow, but bow can like blow you into smithereens. So I would actually start So like this is default, okay? I'm going to delete it. Because like you get a default. If I go to bow, I'm going to lower velocity because velocity can make it like go berserk. See that? Like just the tiniest bit. Force, turn down force. See how crazy it gets? I'm holding it down. Sometimes it rings, sometimes it doesn't, depending on this velocity. Be very careful, it can get insanely loud. Let's turn force way down. Why they wouldn't have set it up to be like very quiet out of the gate, I don't really know. Let's play with the pitch. Now I'm hitting buttons and nothing's happening. Let's turn tension off and turn it back on and see if that helps. Just like rebooting a router. Uh-oh. So if I played velocity up here, nothing happens. I have to play velocity down here. That's why like physical modeling synthesizers can be so batty. Like as I move it, it either plays or doesn't play. And that'll also be affected by this force. So yeah, it's just weird. I'm going to go back to hammer. Now nothing's coming out. I have to like readjust these. Anytime you see like damping, damper, termination even, it's almost like a gradual muting of a string. When you think collision, which is another one of Ableton's physical modeling synthesizers, which is taking a long time to load. Collision is basically physically modeling some sort of a synthesizer or a hypothetical instrument where a person has a mallet or some sort of a excitator, which is a thing that would hit these resonators and they would beam. So if you want to think, or they would reverberate around with these resonators. So think about like this hypothetical instrument and someone is taking an object that can be made of different materials and weights, and you can strike with different velocities, and it's striking like resonating beams or marimbas that all have different resonator capabilities. It's like someone playing a percussion instrument, whereas tension is like you're doing the same thing, except like it's a person who is either using like a plectrum, so it's like a hypothetical stringed instrument, or someone has a stringed instrument, but like we were using bow over here, they are now bowing it. You know what I mean? Like with like a violin. And then there's the hammer, which basically is like, okay, now this stringed instrument is not like a guitar or a violin, but it's more like some sort of a piano. So you got this hammer sound. Now I can move the pitch up. And we can change the parameters. We haven't even gotten a damper, termination, or body yet. So, and then hammer bouncing, which I just learned today. See, that's what shows you. Like, yeah, you might be like, oh God, whatever, I'll get around to this later. But like, I didn't know that like hammer bouncing was more or less meant to like be held down. So with like hammer, I'm hitting a note. And if I hold it down, it eventually rings out. But if we do hammer bouncing and I hit a note, I guess that doesn't work. I guess depending on how you tweak these things, it's kind of happening. Do I have to turn up mass? Velocity? Whatever, maybe that doesn't happen. Either way, there's like little bounces and it sort of makes it a little bit longer. But for the most part, because I'm more interested in sound design, I'm kind of more interested in, now that I know this much better than when I did the tutorial like 2 months ago. And I've really only used tension just to like kind of very subtly prepare for this. Not like to prepare for it, but like, don't get me wrong. Like I don't want to be like, I actually want to be like, oh yeah, I went over this and now I have like a new idea of how it works, but more or less like a way to conceptualize it, because you don't want, for someone to just be like, okay, let's turn this knob, turn this knob, turn this knob. Okay, this sounds good. Let's keep it here. You know what I mean? What are you really learning? Like, yeah, your ears are getting better, but you should be able to like view this in your head, because then you can make like adjustments and then be like, oh, I had a feeling it was going to change when I made this change. So we're going to keep it on plectrum and hammer, because I kind of want to show you my methodology, and then we can use that to then experiment on our own with bow and with hammer bouncing, if hammer bouncing is worth its weight in salt at all. And if you make anything new, cool, please show me. In fact, someone hit me up on Instagram and showed me something they made with collision and then using the resampling technique. Much love if you're watching this. And I heard it and I was like, oh, that's like absolutely amazing. Like, I'm now inspired to go play some more with collision. So let's start with hammer. So mostly it's the excitator position, the string. Obviously, our sound will also be affected by which octave range we're playing. I'd rather just be bassier because more harmonics come through. So what I want to do first is, the most important things first is like we want to get like a big block of high quality stone, and then we want to chip away, and we chip away on the damper and the termination settings. So I want like a big beautiful block of granite right now, and I'm going to adjust the excitator settings, and then the next most important things are in the string setting down here, and then we're going to get deeper here. So let's play around with hammer. I like things that like ring out more, and I like when they're punchy. Do you want to see if we were clipping? Play with the string decay, just as you would think. I'm going to lower the volume a little bit. Ratio could do some things, if I remember correctly. Okay, well, it's a good thing I wanted to make tension for you guys, because now I'm like, okay, no, it is really good. So the low, I don't need to know much about ratio. I just need to know the lower I go, the more it rings. In harmonics, I'm not even going to play with. I've played with in harmonics enough to know that it basically just detunes, and most of the time it sounds really bad. If you were to put like a very subtle LFO on here, if it doesn't make that clicking sound, it'll be good. But I stay away from in harmonics. Damping, again, it's going to make it quieter, but it could make it punchier as it goes quieter. Because think about palm muting when you play guitar. In fact, it sounds like palm muting, but I want it to ring. Now, I could go back up here and change these things, but I like this sound, and I like how it rings when I play it. Now, let's go to plectrum. Stick with hammer. Now, I could go back into plectrum and change all these things and make it sound better, but I want to keep moving on. So here's where I go to next. Body is a good one because it's going to give it basically a resonator, but you have to turn up decay. So basically, we're sculpting out like the sound, and I'm going to leave it on XL for like a larger body. Let's remove some of the lows with the low cut and remove some of the highs with the high cut. Now, I like this pickup because it basically gives it like an electric pickup on a guitar. So we're getting harmonics. Okay, now let's move on to damper. Now, what's damper going to do? So right now we've got this hype. Imagine like some guitar or some crazy electric piano, because we're using hammers. And we hit one note and it rings. So imagine we're like strumming a guitar, or we're picking a guitar or some stringed instrument or a piano, and it's just ringing. Now, a damper would be like, if the damper would be like on a piano, like that little damper thing that comes down, which sort of like muffles or like decays the sound down, or with like a guitar or stringed instrument, it would be the person's hand. So this damper is gonna It's going to like take down the ringing of our notes, but at the same time, it's going to like make it like punchier, but also shorter. And just make it be insane. So let's adjust this. Ugh, that sounds awful. Turn it off. I don't know what those like pops are. Is that the pickup? Oh, maybe it's just so punchy it's making that sound. So like damper really isn't doing anything for me right now. Some of the notes, it's like popping like that. I don't know why that's the case. Doesn't matter. So I basically use Excitator and Body to basically like build out my sound, like this big granite block, and then damper I turn on. So right now damper's doing nothing unless I liked those sounds. Termination will do something different than damper. I believe what termination refers to is like the way the damper like applies and then releases, or maybe it's like how hard the strings are. It's hard to tell. You don't really need to know. You can look it up online. See if this changes. I'm gonna go to plectrum. Sounding like too high and nasally. Like you'll just stumble across something, you're like okay, that sounds kind of... Like listen to that. Check this out. Filter envelope. I. Give it some filter envelope. Dude, I'm seeing 555s all over the time. 555s. They mean change. They mean change. An initiation to a higher range, a frequency of consciousness. I couldn't make it go to 555 even if I tried. What? Adjust the filter envelope. And if you say, hi, I'm doing that and it ain't doing it, it's because your filter's probably up here. That means you go from filter high to down here. High means all the way up, so that means you're only going from here. But doesn't that sound good? So now it's going from a high all the way up here to down here over 825 seconds. Turn in the decay right now. So if you were just like, hey, by the way, for SDHO 14 or maybe it's 15, I have no bloody idea. If you were to like blindfold me and said, hey, by the way, we're going to be using operator and we're going to be using tension, and by the way, we were going to come up with a sound that was like this, I'd be like, maybe operator, baby. If you said tension, I'd be like, oi. I'd be like, what? You know, and then if I turn off filter, wait, what? That's kind of weird. I thought, it's weird. So check this out. Let's if we go to resampling and we do this. We're like recording it, but like, why does it sound different? Hear that? Okay, that's what I want. I wanted that last one. And now I'm going to, first of all, yeah, this was fun, but I just want that last one. I want to keep things nice and tidy. Okay. Doesn't need to be perfect. Crop sample. Let's come into here, throw a sampler. Let's go in. Record enable. Okay. Filter global. Let's give it some release. Let's give it a lot more volume. So now I can play it. You might say, well, dude, you could have played it on the other things. Like, what are you doing? Well, I actually wanted to get this in audio so I could apply my own filter because I didn't like how it was sounding with that filter. I want to give it a filter drive. And now I want to start cranking the filter amount, see if it sounds better. So like we used tension, we bounced it to audio, we threw it into sampler. So why is this happening? This is happening because we got this filter envelope, we can play with the decay. And if you're not getting this result, your filter frequency has to be down, because if the filter frequency is up, it's just staying open. Now, maybe you want that bouncing ball sound, which I'm like, shit, maybe I'm just gonna make bouncing ball bass sounds for the rest of my life. Dude, that sounds absolutely amazing. I'm just gonna stop right now because that's amazing. Yeah. But I'm going to leave us, I'm going to do a little waxing poetic. I don't know if that's the right word. So here's the bonus Easter egg for everyone who's stuck around, although I'm sure you know how to do this anyway. Get white noise. I would prefer to use Analog's white noise because I think it's just juicier. All you need is one oscillator. You need white noise. I'm not even going to use their filter. I'm going to go to amp. I want the volume to play as loud and for as long as I want. So I want sustain all the way up. I want an attack of about a half a second. So we'll just do 444. Okay. 444 milliseconds. We're going to add this release, even though it doesn't matter. We are going to double click for a clip. We're going to go, we're not even going to put anything down here yet. We're going to go duplicate, 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 duplicate. Go all the way in on here. B for pen tool. Doesn't matter which note. Legato. Oh, wow. We saved a lot of time and got that result quick, didn't we? Okay, so let's push play. And, oh, we shouldn't do that because we have no filter, so we're going to get every frequency. It's going to hurt our ears. We don't want that. What we do want is EQ. I've been using autofilter now because I want to be able to visualize it, you know. So I'm going to click play. I'm going to just cut a little bit of the frequencies away so we don't get like crazy. And take it down until it sounds good. Do you like it down here? Take the resonance. I like the resonance. for like prime studying mode, I feel like resonance all the way low. So just so you know, like we're cutting out all these highs. Resonance down. Let's go 222. 333. Let's give us a little volume here. Let's go into reverb. See, now I'm more inclined to use hybrid reverb because I'm not just looking for generic reverb. I want something that's going to give like more of a physical space character. Like, listen. No, I actually like the bass being reverbed. I'm going to put the compressor after the reverb to like wonderful. It's a beautiful sound in it. Sorry I keep doing crazy voices. That's just who I am. You know, it's really weird, guys. I think I got together with an old friend from like the high school days or even junior high. It's what we called here in the States. Kind of that section of 3 years before high school. I don't know if it's called high school in Europe or wherever else. I don't know. But in any event, I got together with someone from the past, you know? And, you know, we were talking and we were laughing about something, and then I did one of those voices, you know, like some weird voice I do, and he was like, oh man, I remembered that about you, like you had those funny voices, like the voices, and I was just like, oh shit, I guess I do that. So I hope none of the voices triggers anyone. Let's face it, there's a lot of stuff to get triggered about these days, I'll tell you that much. So in any event, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm realizing that, yeah. So here's the thing. I realized it would be good to use tension because I haven't used tension basically since I made that tutorial on tension like 2 months ago. And even though I've been using collision a lot because there's just so much great stuff in collision, I felt like, tension doesn't hold up. But sure enough, I used tension like yesterday and the day before because I wanted to play with it a little bit before I like got back into it today. You know, maybe a new strategy would formulate, or I would just find out new things, which I kind of did. It's really like the more you use it, so it's almost like in anything in life, like you get rewarded for like coming back to things. You know what I mean? Because you're like building up your neural pathways. You know what I mean? Like as soon as you do a thing, you like remember, oh, this didn't work yesterday. Oh, I'm gonna try this, and something new happens. That's why it's tough, you know. I feel like with anything in life, especially something you like and something you want to do better at, it seems really crazy, especially when we're tired and we don't feel like doing anything, or we feel like soul crushed, or there's things in our life that aren't going to plan. It's hard to be like, oh, sit down and open up Ableton's tension device, and hopefully that'll be a good use of your time, or it won't, you know? So I don't know, guys. I hope you're doing well. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm not going to lie. Like every time I sit down to do this, I'm like extra interested in tension. I'm extra interested now in operator. I'm probably going to be jumping on analog soon because like if you take analog to the next level, which is activating the second filter, feeding different oscillators into filter 1, filter 2 in analog, and then blending in between how much the filters get allocated to the oscillator, or the oscillators get in. You can get really juicy sounds, and each time we open it back up, we get better, and it just means we have more flexibility over future productions, and we just know more of what our stuff does. So if you found any of this useful, if you liked hanging out, smash up the like, subscribe, tell me if you liked it. Tell me what you've been working on in analog. Tell me what maybe you might want to see me cover. Someone said vocoder, and I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. Why? For the simple fact that I don't use vocoder. And you know how we've been playing a little bit with like white noise and all the different like nature sounds and like atmosphere sounds you get with filtering? Well, I'm pretty sure because like, look, vocoder is even under the reverb and resonance. And like you can get, I think like rain sounds and even like trickly water sounds possibly with vocoder. So it's like, but looks like I need to get into analog and vocoder next. You know what I mean? So I hope you're with me here. Really appreciate you, and have a great rest of your day. And there'll be another SDHO coming up soon. Have a good day, and I hope you're doing well. Did it just start over? Yeah, it just started over. He's like, it took you long enough. I think you forgot about your puggy. Actually, I don't even think it's time to feed you. But I want you to spin around. You spin around, Chunku? You spin around? I don't want to say the K word because then he's gonna get hungry. Chunky hungry? Is that chunky hungry? Chunky hungry? Is it chunky hungry? Is it chunky hungry? Is it chunky hungry? Well, I don't think it's time for food, so I don't wanna. He knows. Okay. Okay, go. Okay, go. Okay, go. Now it's not time yet. I will give you some treats, but it's not time yet.